Welcome to On the Firing Line on the information station, AM 1440 KUHL. Information, education, news, and politics of firearms and ammunition is found here. If you have any questions, call us at 1-888-625-1440. That's 1-888-625-1440.
According to a poll, 55% of Americans prefer that retailers and restaurateurs don't allow guns, while only 32% prefer that they do. The poll found a partisan divide with a no-gun policy preferred by Democrats 72% to 19%, and by independents 48% to 38%. Republicans said they preferred establishments that allowed guns 50% to 41%. 64% of gun owners say they prefer that businesses allow guns, but 63% of those who lived in households with someone who owns a gun and 65% of those with no guns in their households said they prefer the opposite. The poll comes as a growing number of major businesses ask customers not to bring guns into their stores.
You are on the firing line with Joe, Matt, and Kanani. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the Santa Maria area, give us a call at 928-1440. It's a lot of percentages and numbers in that first thing there.
Well, you can throw out numbers for anything, whether it's true or not. It's a whole nother story. That's what polls are all about.
Yeah, exactly.
They strategically ask questions.
Yeah, it's like 38% of all polls are BS. It's kind of one of those things.
Propaganda, my friends. But it was interesting to bring this propaganda up because today's show is going to be about the right of personal property or your business property, whether that's a personal property or if it's open to the public, and what rights do you have there in that business, especially when it comes to asking people if they can leave their guns outside or if they should be allowed to bring them in.
Yeah.
I think that this should be an interesting debate today. Jim's going to definitely partake in this with us. And we're going to try to get to the nitty-gritty because we do see a lot of businesses, like Target being one of them, where they've asked people to leave their guns outside. Don't bring them in. Either they're afraid that somebody's going to get hurt, or they're afraid that an innocent person's going to become a criminal right off the bat and start shooting everybody, or they're afraid that criminals are going to come in and start robbing. And they won't know who the criminal and the good guy is. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons that we hear out there.
Yeah, I've heard some pretty extreme reasons. I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, right now there's tons of corporate companies, like Starbucks and Target, and a lot of them that are now saying, well, we don't want you to carry a gun into our store or into our restaurant, whatever it is. I don't know, and it is spreading badly, and a lot of it, and some of the things I've heard people say is, well, I'm scared of seeing somebody armed, and then if I'm scared, well, I have the right to self-defense, so now I'm going to shoot that person who's armed because they're carrying, and so that's the way the left's playing it, is this vicious circle, that people are just going to start shooting people because they have guns on their hips.
Right.
We've proved before that doesn't happen.
Well, we're going to be debating this a lot today. We're going to be taking a look at whether or not it's discrimination to ask these people to do it.
I think so.
And how does it fit under discrimination? Because normally we just consider discrimination would be against religion, race,
gender,
creed, all that stuff. But if
national origin.
If the three of us had open carry pistols in a state where something like that was legal, and we walked in and they said, "No, you guys got to get out of here," wouldn't you feel like that was kind of against it,
Like it's what, violating your right?
Yeah, exactly, violating my right. If I can own the gun that's on my side and I have it legally, who are they to tell me I can't have it after I've already gone through said whatever to get it?
Well, it's kind of like no shirt, no service. No shirt, no shoes, no service.
No,
they figure
eat
it's
somewhere
the
else.
same. Yeah, right. It's the same thing. But remember, Joe, the cops?
Yes.
That they were going to throw them out of the restaurant, right? Because they were carrying. And then they had to come back and say, I'm sorry. That we did that. This was police officers.
Yeah.
Well, a
Uniformed
chief of police. A chief of police recently was asked by a corporation, or actually I don't remember exactly which one it was. Hey, please, sir, take your gun off and leave it out in your patrol car.
Wasn't it IKEA?
I think it was IKEA, exactly.
Oh, well, what do you want from IKEA?
Sweet.
I mean,
but
give me a
the
break.
point is where does the domain of personal property end? Where does it start? just because it's open to the public, if it's a corporation, and there's another question, what's the difference between corporation and individual? When a corporation is a group of individuals, don't
Right.
they have the right to run their business how they want? These are the kind of questions we're going to be getting into today, and we hope that we'll have many people calling in today to kind of express your opinion on this stuff. And again, that phone number is 888-625-1440. Or if you're in the Santa Maria area, please give us a call at 928-1440. And don't forget, if you didn't get those numbers, you can go onto our Facebook page. We've actually renamed the page. It's now You're on the Firing Line with Joe, Matt, and Kanani. And you can get that
Pictures and
information.
everything.
Yep. As a matter of fact, the pictures that Kanani was taking, her
They're actually
husband
John took.
was taking last week, are posted up there. And that turned out to be a really good picture.
It's
I don't know,
very
Jim, have you
official.
been able to go look at it?
No, I haven't. I've been busy, pretty busy this week, like you can see. I'm back to regular health, back to
Yeah.
regular talk.
Perfect.
Good. Glad
I
to
can
have you
open my
back.
mouth to eat a sandwich now. I'm
Oh,
happy
man,
for
dude,
myself.
that's so awesome. Did you get some bacon in you?
I did watch your show last week on Food Channel about how
Okay.
big bacon is.
Well, maybe after the
Bacon's
show,
good.
we gotta get some bacon.
It's healthy.
Yeah,
This year, anyways.
yeah. Maybe next year it'll be you won't be able to go in your restaurant without.
You'll have
you
to
know,
wait a couple of years and they'll be
yeah.
healthy again.
You put your name on a list, and then you can go, then they'll buy bacon for you so you can have it on your
The bacon
with your
haters.
haters.
Oh man.
But they're
Don't
not
give
going to
me
be
any
serving no more
ideas.
bacon.
No ideas.
All right. I want to just say one thing is part of our discussion. Those who are willing to give up a little temporary safety for essential liberty are not going to get much of either safety or liberty.
Yeah.
Think of that. That was written by a very famous person, one of our forefathers, as to the fact there. And it's a great statement as to the laws that have been tried to pass, that people are trying to pass to give us public safety, to try to minimize deaths from guns, shall we say. Whether the statistics show that it's true or not, that's what's really happening, that we're having a surge in that kind of stuff. But I think that in today's discussion with private property, business property, whether that's private and how it being open to the public can bring to light some of all this stuff, maybe it'll just show just how absurd or how realistic their mindsets are about this stuff. And it all kind of melds together. It's a little bit outside the box. As a matter of fact, Kanani even asked me today when we met up, she's all, "So where are you going with this story?" But I really think this is going to be interesting stuff for us to talk about, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have differences of opinions. And when it comes to private property, you really have to think about our Constitution. You have to think about the individuals. And before we get into this, I want to read this to you before we take a quick break, okay? And it's all based off of what the Fifth Amendment gave us, you know. Treatise by Washington State Supreme Court Justice Richard B. Sanders. This was back in 97. He writes, "Our state and most other states define property in an extremely broad sense. That the definition is as follows. Property is a thing, consists not merely in its ownership and possession, but in the unrestricted right of use, enjoyment, and disposal. Anything which destroys any of the elements of property to that extent destroys the property itself. The substantial value of property lies in its use. If the right of use be denied, the value of the property is annihilated and ownership is rendered a barren right. And as our founding forefather John Adams said, the moment the idea is admitted into society that property is not as sacred as the law of the God, then there is not a force of law and public justice to protect it. Anarchy and tyranny will commence."
And a place called California will now be born.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a quick break so we can come in and get back into this discussion. And keep in mind, we want your calls today. Please give us a call at that number of 888.
625-1440 or locally 805-928-1440.
Let us know your opinion. Should people be allowed to carry their firearms into businesses? Should businesses be allowed to say, no, you can't carry firearms into our business? Should they have that freedom? And does it violate the Constitution of the United States in doing so? We'll be right back with you on the firing line.
You're listening to On the Firing Line on the Information Station.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We will be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on am1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building an AR-15, they have lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and a ton of other AR parts from the most popular companies and stuff.
They are also the home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol classes and have trained thousands of local ladies.
The store is located off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit. Look for the big rifle sign on the freeway as well as the giant 5-ton Tactical military truck, and they're now open on Mondays. America!
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352, serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years.
Now, a great word from Santa Maria Motorcycles, formerly Santa Maria Harley-Davidson, located at 2022 Prester Lane. They are dealers for Honda, Kawasaki, and Harley-Davidson. Grab your family and go see the museum, filled with exciting older bikes that you won't see anywhere else on the Central Coast. As well, they are the #1 motorcycle dealer on the Central Coast with the largest inventory around. Go in and see Martin Buchanan, or you can give him a call at 805-928-3668. You can also go visit them every first Thursday of the month for Bike Night. It starts at 6 p.m. Have a great time with your family at Santa Maria Motorcycles.
We're happy to have a special guest here today at the Plumbing Talk Studios, Jeremy Griffin, owner of Griffin Plumbing in Orcutt. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Jeremy, the reason your plumbing company is called Griffin Plumbing is that your last name is, in fact, Griffin.
Yeah, that's right.
Unbelievable! Griffin, just like the legendary creature with the body of a lion and the wings of an eagle.
Yeah.
What a brilliant move, Jeremy.
I'm a genius.
To name your plumbing company after this majestic creature. A creature known not only to have divine power, but also to be a protector from all things evil.
Well, it is my last name.
Audience, listen carefully. If your plumbing devices are threatened in any way, I implore you to seek the power and protection of the Griffin.
We're always here to help. Just give us a call.
Call the Griffin.
Find us at callgriffinplumbing.com or call 934-1949.
You are on the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, please give us a call at 928-1440. That's right. We are back on the Firing Line with myself, Joe, and Kanani, and Jim. He's over there even.
Yep.
He's back. All right. So,
so
take us into it, Joe. I know you got some something over there.
Let's talk about first what's going on. We have these different businesses that are starting to say, please don't bring your guns into our stores.
Yep.
In some states, hey, it's pretty much general news that, hey, it's okay to do that. But we're starting to see large corporations like Target, like IKEA, and other companies.
But that's Target, Joe. I mean, they don't even let the people at Christmas time ring
But
the
they're
bell.
called Target. I mean, come on.
That's even a sign of a big Target.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Hey, yeah,
That is really
I'm onto
ironic,
something.
man.
All right. Target's what? A corporation,
Yeah,
right?
by Dade Hudson Corporation that does multiple different department stores and concession type stores. You know, like for instance, they might do a Dairy Queen kind of a thing. They have that kind of stuff.
What kind of freedom do corporations or individuals who own property and run a business, what kind of freedoms do they have? Do they have the ability to tell people that are coming, their customers that are coming in, which is open to the public, hey, no, we don't want you in here. We don't want you in here if you're going to be carrying a firearm.
I think they have the ability to say, we don't want you in here. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
don't
they have
want,
The right to refuse service.
but
Yeah.
don't
Do
want
they?
in you. But if they don't want you in there because you're carrying a firearm, well, that's a different bag of tricks to me.
Well,
Because I shall not be infringed upon.
here's the thing. Where does the Constitution start and end? Does it start with the individual? Does it start at the beginning of their property? Does it start at the beginning of the door of their business?
The property
Hobby
belongs to the
Lobby won.
individual.
Hobby Lobby won their case.
Right.
At the
So they
Supreme
have the
Court level.
freedom to be able to tell somebody.
Not pay for things that are against their belief in their faith in religion.
You break you by.
Yeah, the court said, yeah, you don't have to submit your faith just because you're a corporation.
Okay.
So they've taken just the individual right and made it a corporate right. Okay? In that made it a law now because it was passed.
But it's
5-4.
still an individual, even though it's through.
This is different now.
But even
this
though it's
is an
through the
individual.
corporation, it affects individuals, and that's
Well, the law was a mandate. In the law itself had a mandate saying you must do this. Well, it went against their belief because it's a Christian organization, right? Okay. This is different, though. I'm saying corporations now do have the right to say, hey, if it's against my religion, I get to do it.
Okay.
Because it's a faith-based thing, which that's what they argued their case on the First Amendment right.
But it was also, I thought, very specific to very small companies that were family-owned, not a large corporation like Target was.
Even though they're a large corporation, Hobby Lobby is, but it's family-owned, and the corporation itself, underneath the corporate law, is represented by a faith. So in other words, it's like we have a faith and a belief inside our corporation.
Who's we?
Hobby Lobby and the other corporations that.
But who in the corporation? The corporation
exactly
is a we.
Right, that's what they're saying now.
Which is many eyes.
Well, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. That
Okay, and so let's take that away from the birth control, and that's because that's outside the box.
Right, I'm saying they used another part of the constitutional right.
Right.
So this is not.
So now we reserve the right to refuse service. Is that something that has to be posted, or is that something that's just a given?
To me, it's a given.
Really? I kind of think it needs to be posted.
I think it should be posted. I agree with Kanani. I'm going to go that way. I think it should be posted.
And if you have it posted, is it an automatic? Is it just there? It happens automatically?
To me, it's like a no littering sign. You shouldn't do it, but they post the signs anyway, just so people see it. But you shouldn't do it.
Let me read you this.
But there's a sign anyway.
This is by Stephanie Rabner, and it's have you reserved your right to refuse service? As a question here, okay? The sign's message is clear and simple, but the truth is that a business cannot reserve a wholesale right to refuse service. As places of public accommodation, private businesses are subject to federal and state anti-discrimination laws. These statutes prohibit discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, disability, gender, and sex. So also include sexual orientation. And others, they outlaw even arbitrary discrimination. What is arbitrary discrimination?
I think it's what we're talking about. It's arbitrarily given.
At your own...
Yeah, say, brown hair, blue-eyed guys, no, you ain't getting service here. But I want to argue a good point. I think it's a good point. And Kanani kind of was going to help. I think she wants to say it. I think you should carry whether you want to or do what you want to and say to yourself, this is... If you just because you got a sign up there doesn't mean anything to me, and I got to buy my toothpaste because you're the closest store I can get into.
Yeah.
Now, if they decide to exercise their right, will I go against them? No, I'll just say, okay, I get it, but it's not going to stop me. I'll be back again. You can't be arrested for it. You can't be, it's not like you bounced a check. Remember they used to do that in the cash register? Do not take a check from Joe Smith.
Well, here's the thing, though. Is it a violation of your constitutional right to keep you from wearing that gun to go into the store? Go ahead, Kanani.
Well, I think there's two things. I think the refusal of service, even if it's posted, it's normally not based on your gender or your race or your religion. It's usually based on you're being a nuisance and kind of,
your
making a
behavior
butthole of yourself.
Behavior,
right. And we are no longer going to be allowing to service you because of your actions or because of something that you've done. I think in the concealed carry, though, if they don't know you have it, why would anyone be able to refuse your service?
I agree with that.
And I kind of think that's the whole point of concealed carry.
Right?
They don't know you have it.
But let's say California, we didn't have the right of concealed carry. We had the right of open carry, unless you got a permit for concealed carry, which was, and still is in most cases, near impossible to get.
Yeah.
Now we don't have either form.
It's a fake right, you're saying.
Let's go to Arizona, where open carry is, actually...
Or Texas.
Okay,
Texas, I think, in some of the things I've read have been not the instigators of the problem, but have kind of exasperated the problem.
Okay.
with open carrying into Target and open carrying into Chipotle and open carrying, all of these different places. That sparks the anti-gunner to say, well, you guys need to take a stand on this.
See, I 100% agree with you, Connie. I actually have open carry written down right here because that's what I think it is too. It's not so much the open carrier with the Glock 19 on their side. It's the open carrier that goes in with an AK-47 over the shoulder into Target.
Yeah.
And I get it. They're open carrying. I totally understand it. But that is a much, how do I say it, more visually something footprint.
You guys are all confused.
You're darn straight I'm confused. I'm trying to make light of it.
Okay, Joe, unconfuse us.
Okay, well, first of all, let's go back. For example, here in California, there's the UNRWA Civil Rights Act, which prohibits all types of arbitrary discrimination. This includes biases based on physical attributes, political beliefs, ding ding, and geographical origin. Courts also tend not to favor arbitrary discrimination, and in the past, judges have used consumer protection, unfair business practice, and tort laws to punish such practices. None of this means that you absolutely cannot refuse to serve a customer. It simply means that you need a legitimate business reason to do so.
Right.
You can usually refuse service in the following situations: when a customer is not properly dressed, when a customer is been or is being disruptive, or as Kanani puts it, a butt.
I have other words. I just thought I'd use a radio appropriate one.
When a customer harasses your employees or other customers. So in other words, if they're in there and they're trying to, picket, and they're in there, pushing up against your customers or blocking people from coming in your front door. When there are safety concerns.
Okay.
All right.
Ding. Is
that a ding ding?
No,
when you know someone can't or won't pay.
Oh my.
When a customer is intoxicated or high, or when you need to protect another customer's privacy. It's still essential to apply this criteria on a bias.
Okay, yeah, I'm with Jim on what he's about to ask because I know what he's going to say.
Yeah. Do you know that at Target they have the dressing rooms are unisex? So they're saying to you, don't carry a gun in here, but if you're a dude and you want to walk in on a chick, that's okay.
I've had it. There's three
My
doors
wife
to choose
is so
from.
upset at that she doesn't even think about trying on any clothes at Target because they have the unisex.
But you go into your own cubicle. What does it matter if it's one big room?
But
right, because that doesn't stop the guy next to you from peering over the top.
Exactly.
Hey, baby, nice
saying,
skirt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Gilroy.
That's the whole thing, right? I mean, let's face it, that's really what it's about. People want their privacy. This is an intimate moment. I'm in my,
Okay, so why is this different from carrying your firearm into your store or carrying your AK-47 or AR rifle?
Because there's an embarrassment from another person, or hey, what if it is somebody who does that?
I don't see on here where it says embarrassment.
Well, if you were trying on new pants and some little girl walked in on you while you were trying on your new pants, so you would be a little bit embarrassed.
Right. Okay, but we're talking AKs-47s and ARs now,
right,
along
that's
with
what
pistols.
I'm saying. That's different. That's what I'm saying.
How is that different from somebody who walks in who's all scarred up and just looks? And I don't mean to be mean or rude, but let's say somebody's disfigured and they're scarred, and it's discerning to people.
Would be no different than somebody who has a disability.
Right.
Missing legs or limbs or whatnot.
Right.
So how does this stand?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're allowing the unisex thing, which was really, I would think, way over the top.
Okay.
But you can't carry a gun in our store?
Right.
I don't
But
get that.
I think they're going to go with the safety concern issue.
I was just going to say that, but because that's apples and oranges. Because it's a quote unquote another public safety thing. Because
how does that override our constitutional right of the Second Amendment?
It does not.
But then where's the right of the property owners?
Gosh darn it.
Joe,
Wait, I'm playing devil's advocate here, right here.
That's not advocate. That's like flip-flopping on the two issues.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, personally, if you ask me, I believe that if you're in my house or you're in my business, that's my sovereign country. If I open it up to the public, it's an invitation to you to come and buy my goods. Well, yeah, you
Is
might.
this the land of the
It depends
Geistville?
if that's in my moral stuff here. Awesome. It's like it's like at your house. Let's say somebody comes to your house with a firearm.
Right.
If you say, no, you have a gun, I don't want you to come into my house, even though I've invited you over, go take your gun and leave it in your car. Are you violating that person's Second Amendment right?
Silence.
Well, I'd like to say something about
Well,
that, but I'm kind of like.
I've been on the receiving end of
I
that.
think it's just.
So have I.
I think it's just respectful to be. It's your friend, so you're going to respect their wishes.
Yes, if it's like you said, you with your friends,
Yeah.
generally you're not going to be like, oh no, it's not worth it. I'm out of here.
But
generally,
darn right well, corporations.
Darn right well, none of my friends are going to tell me to take my gun
being a
off.
friend of yours. They're interested in getting your money as quickly as they possibly can.
Big industry.
Well, wouldn't they get more money if they allowed us gun owners to
Yeah.
come into the store?
And spend-
Or are they going to
yeah.
lose money because of that? And so, but then again, you're taking it away from the constitutional right. And if they bar us from coming into the place, are they not going against the Constitution? I have a
So which
Second
one
Amendment right.
supersedes then? Your private property rights or the Constitution?
That's the question.
That's where I'm
I
kind
mean,
of...
don't we normally pick the side of the Constitution?
I would prefer to pick the side of the Constitution. I mean, after all, in the Second Amendment, it said shall not be infringed.
There you go. End of conversation.
I mean, that's
I mean-
all. But no, really.
You know,
What Joe just said is like the end of conversation to all this stuff that people bring up. And,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
it doesn't in there.
Exactly.
Because there's all these other things, just like Joe's doing right now. Well, what if this? Then tell me why. Well, if you like that, then why don't you like the other one? And then if it's the same, it's just
Yeah.
they can circumvent these things and make it go in and out forever.
Right. Why
I
your
mean,
Glock and not my AK?
Exactly.
You know.
Good point.
Exactly. Yep.
Very good point.
Well, I got one for you.
Okay.
What if they start saying, well, if you suffer from seizures, please do not come into our establishment because you may harm or hurt yourself.
Where does it end?
It doesn't.
Right,
It doesn't
exactly.
end. It doesn't end. They just keep on doing it, keep on. I mean, there's places where you have to wear a tie to eat dinner. Give me a break. A tie's going to
Yeah,
make a
dress
difference.
codes to-
Dress codes. Yeah, right. And so you have to. You don't want to eat our establishment? Fine. We got enough rich people here who will. I mean, that's where it gets down to. It's just.
Well, that's interesting you say that because as I was talking to with a friend of mine earlier before the show, Disneyland used to say that, hey, if your hair is not above your collar line,
right,
you're not coming in.
Oh my!
They did
For
have that,
everyone?
right. For everyone.
Those
Yes, they did.
Boys and
racist
girls?
It was in
Mickey
the
Mouse.
60s.
No,
Well,
girls,
no,
I think,
guys.
were an exception, but guys.
But they did have
Wait, so
a
they said no
dress code
hippies?
though. They used to have a dress code
Genius.
for employees. They did have a dress code for employees also.
My
It
dad
was the
worked
same
there
way.
in the
You have
60s.
to have your hair trimmed, and you couldn't wear beards. You couldn't
But
do
is
this.
that
you
not
couldn't do
an
that.
employment
But the
guideline where
girls
you're
also had
agreeing
to
to
wear their
it?
hair back, and nothing could hang down.
I think that is like what Kanani said. I think that's you sign a dotted line when you
Right.
go to work
You're
at
right,
Disney.
exactly.
and
That's a different thing.
And
But
if you're going to be at that park,
This was
and
for
people are-
customers.
Right.
If you're going to be there and customers are going to see you, you're going to sign a line so you look like where you set the standard, because they don't want to have, like Joe said, somebody all disfigured or whatever, the one who's delivering lollipops to the little kids. There's going to have to be some degree of
money-making world.
presentation.
Yeah.
Commerce is
But why
commerce,
did
I
they
guess,
do that
yeah.
to their customers? Why did they say the customers couldn't come in if they had hair below their shoulders?
Because
Well, it was
money,
a short
money,
period of
money.
time. I remember that, though. I do
I mean,
remember that.
I understand why they did it. Is because they were trying to keep the ill repute out, or,
Well, there
or
were
whatnot.
also the little kids
Drug
and
users were the
stuff,
ones that had
right.
long hair.
Well,
Right.
exactly, and that's why we can't open carry in Target because they're trying to keep the ill reputes out.
Yep.
And so then goes back to the question:
No,
Are
it
we
doesn't.
automatically associated as guilty or as bad or as criminals because we have a
Yes.
firearm?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah,
You guys,
It's
that's
assumed.
three
you
against
guys-
one right there.
It's assumed.
No, it's sad and true.
It's assumed.
Yeah,
It is assumed in certain groups of our society.
What other assumption could there possibly be?
Law
Joe?
enforcement. When I was a kid
Well,
and I
if it
used to
was
see
law
something like that, that would be the first thing I would assume.
that someone carrying a gun was law enforcement.
Yeah, if I just saw it and it was out and about. And I'm talking about if I was a lot younger, obviously. But as a child, if you're taught, hey, if you see a guy with a gun, that might be a policeman. That's what I would probably go with.
Did you live in Santa Maria in those days? Because in
Easy.
Santa Maria, you
Easy.
could go down Broadway, and on a Friday night, and at least see the minimum would be 2 gun racks.
I was going to say that was a gun rack.
I mean, minimum. I mean, if
Like
it was
in my
got
truck?
later
Yeah.
in the night, it
I
would
had
be
one
like
of those.
5, 10.
I've talked to guys who
racks
used to take their
with
22s
guns
to
there.
school and put them in the corners
Exactly.
until after school so they could go down to the wash and shoot their guns together. And the cops would pull over and say, "What you got? What you boys doing? We're going down to the wash. Hey, you need any ammunition?"
Yeah, my
Okay.
brother-in-law used to bring his gun to junior high school, and they would there was a little 22, and they would go out after school. Yeah, my brother-in-law talked about that. I was freaking out. I go, "You're kidding?" He goes, "No." He goes, "No, we used to do that." No
Okay,
problem."
but I'm assuming, which is, I know this is terrible to assume, that the person I'm talking about has a shred of common sense. And I know that's just ridiculous to assume. But
Well, it was assumed that
What
little kid
common
was not
sense are
gay.
you talking about? That's a thing of the past. Come on.
So, okay, but if person A and person B, if they look drastically different, okay, person B, I probably am not going to think that is a cop or law enforcement. Where the person A, I might. And yeah, that's my own personal decision. Everybody's going to have to make their own decision about it. But I'm just saying that's the way I'm going to perceive it.
But
So-
go ahead, Con.
Well, I was gonna say, so then it's okay for you to stereotype person A and person
Right.
B, but to have a corporation or a group of people to stereotype gun owners as one particular way or
that
one
sounds like
particular way.
discrimination.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Shoot. Well, I guess, I don't know, I guess no. But again, common sense, you have to, at some degree, it boils down to a stereotype when you're using common sense. If you see somebody walking towards you, I don't care who you are, you're making a judgment. Okay, is this person okay to pass, or am I going to kind of edge this side of the whatever?
Yeah,
you have to make
absolutely.
that decision.
That's part of our basic hardwiring.
Yeah, that's just being aware
right.
of what's around
And
you,
that's
making
more
good
what
choices.
that's more what I'm saying is if I see two people, I'm going to use that instinct to kind of make that decision for me.
So then
Hopefully
I-
it's the right one.
So then I guess people who are opposed to gun owners carrying their guns into these businesses then have made the assumption and stereotype that we are all irresponsible,
Very good. Very well put.
including the law enforcement. If they ask, the police
Yeah,
chief
oh, yeah,
to leave
yeah.
his
Right.
firearm in the
That's
car.
why he won't give out CCWs because he doesn't believe that the responsibility is held by the civilian as well,
The
and
vicious
or he's
circle
going to be
again.
civilly liable because of that. It looks like we have a caller on the line. Brian, welcome to On the Firing Line.
Hey, I was just listening to you guys talk about taking your guns to school. That's so funny. When I was a kid, I lived in Maricopa, if you're familiar with that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lived in Maricopa, and I would walk to school every day. And when my buddy, his dad, would drive to school, but he was a teacher and a driver, and I'd put my gun in my locker during quail season, it'd be my 20 gauge. During squirrel season, it'd be my 22. And I'd have a box of ammunition, and I'd walk across campus, put it on the bus, right up to Fraser Park, and we'd hunt. And
That's
there was never, if I was in a few fist fights in my day, believe me. And I never thought once I'd go into the locker and grab my gun.
and you know what? We're missing that though in our children today.
Yep.
Most of our children, no, let me rephrase that. That's an assumption again. There are certain children elements within our society that will go grab their gun because they haven't been taught the value of life, which is what I'm assuming you were taught, and that's why you didn't go for the gun.
Right. I never would have thought about it.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
now,
ta-
I'll tell you, I visited a buddy in Missouri about 3 years ago, and it was during deer season. And you drive by the high school, and every pickup had a rifle in the rack.
Yep.
And a lot of them had deer. They'd go out before school, kill their deer, field dress it, go to school because it was cool, didn't hurt them,
Right?
and then go home at lunch and hang them. And I asked my buddy, I said, they were able to carry their guns in their trucks? Oh, yeah.
I think
It's no big deal.
right, and I think that's the problem is we've gotten so far away from that, or we've let the larger cities where the people conglomerate together dictate to us to how these things go. And here's my question to you. How do you feel about businesses that say, hey, no, you can't bring a firearm in our business?
That would depend on the business. If I'm carrying a firearm on my hip, I feel I should be able to go into any business. But, if I'm going into a ladies' shoe store, there's certain incidences where it may not be appropriate. However, you should be able to carry a handgun on your hip anywhere you go.
I agree.
I understand, you might think, well, I don't want to carry it to this lady's shoe store, but you should have the right.
I don't know about you, but
Yeah,
that's
regardless.
exactly where I would be carrying it.
I know, right? Have you been to a ladies' shoe store on a sale day? You might need that.
You know what? I stay away from there. I might need a gun on sale day if I took my wife.
Oh man, we digress.
Hey,
Lord, but no, I mean, it should be a personal preference. They should not have the right to tell you yay or nay. You should have enough common courtesy, to say, okay, this may not be appropriate, whatever. Use your own judgment.
Yep.
It's like smoking a cigarette. You don't blow cigarette smoke in somebody's face
right.
just to be a jerk.
But now we're being taught every day that we need a bigger government to dictate to us how to use that common sense because we don't have it, or that we don't have the common decency to do some of the things we're being told and led to believe, or at least a lot of the younger generation seems to be, because they don't stop themselves from doing this. They don't stop to ponder and think a lot of times. And maybe it's an assumption on my part, but that's what it seems like to me, because we have, as Matt said, digressed. And
right, well, and that's exactly my point. You pick and choose. You use common sense, common courtesy. However, if somebody says you can't, that should not be allowed. But you use common courtesy, that's where we're losing our rights. So many people do not have common courtesy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Things like that. If you don't use common courtesy, they're going to take it away from you.
Yep.
Because people around you are going to go, and they're going to complain and moan and whine, and they're going to take it away. Common courtesy goes a long way in this world.
Amen. Hey, I appreciate you calling today. That was an excellent commentary that you had there. And please don't hesitate. Give us a call anytime you can. And, of course, look us up on Facebook. Leave some comments on some of the articles we have up there. We'd love to discuss things with you there. And thank you very much for calling.
Thank you, guys.
You got it. I think that's good. It was great to hear from him.
I mean, he's feeling, I think a lot of us kind of feel the same on this. Yes, it's one of those issues that, like we were talking about earlier, it's kind of, I don't know, it's not touchy, but which way does it go? Because is it stepping on somebody else's toes, or, it's really hard. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, and while we also want to be respected with our rights, we also want to value the rights of the business owners and private property.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good point. That's the common decency. You know what? Why should we have ever let it get to a position where it could be a violation of civil rights, or not civil rights, but violation, I guess it would be civil rights, violation of our constitutional rights, when all we had to do in the first place is use some common sense. All we had to do is stop, take a look, and have some respect for the surroundings, for the business, for the people that we're around. Right. Sure, there may be ignorant people that are afraid of them, and in some choices we'll have to make to go ahead and step up against them. But in some other choices, we may decide that this may not be the right place and time. It's all a matter of choice and respect and everything. And so,
yeah,
I
totally agree.
That makes a statement within itself.
Yeah, and especially with the open carry stuff, I think that if you live by those rules, basically, you won't have anything to fear. I mean, if you're doing it with common courtesy and respect, and I think that would get people a lot further than what they're doing now, wearing a gun out just to get attention.
Right. Let me leave you with one more thought before we take a quick break. People like the people that went and gathered at Starbucks. Right. Starbucks allowed it for a while, and then it got too out of hand, and now they've asked people not to do it. You know what? It's okay if it's an environment where you're invited to do that. If you're not invited, then if you go there to do it, you're inciting.
Yeah, come on. You've all heard the term party crasher. Don't be a party crasher.
But I guarantee you, I would much prefer to have my gun on wherever I go, because I know that I could be a victim without it. And I do not want to be a victim. I want to be empowered to protect myself wherever I go. Yeah. And if that means that I'm not going to go into that business because they won't allow me to have my gun, then I will go to the next business. Yep. And on that thought, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with you to continue this debate.
We'll be back to more of On the Firing Line with Joe and Jim after this.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We'll be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on AM1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building an AR-15, they have lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and
The home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol classes and have trained thousands of local ladies.
the store is located off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit. Look for the big rifle sign on the freeway as well as the giant 5-ton Tactical military truck, and they're now open on Mondays. America!
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352, serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years.
On the air with the Midnight Mystic is one of our regular callers, truck driver Charlie.
Well, I just seen another one, Midnight Mystic.
Another Griffin, Charlie?
I'm telling you, they're all over the Central Coast now.
How long have you been on the road now, Charlie?
2, 5, 8 weeks, I don't know.
Perhaps you should park the truck and get some sleep, and maybe the Griffins will disappear.
Well, there it is again. I'm going after it.
What does it look like, Charlie?
Holy mackerel. It's got the body of a lion and the head of an eagle.
Is it flying, Charlie?
It's on the side of a white truck.
Is it a Griffin plumbing truck, Charlie?
Could be. I don't know. I'm pulling right up to it.
We seem to have lost contact with Charlie, but I'm sure he'll be okay because Griffins, just like the good folks at Griffin Plumbing, are here to protect and serve. In fact, if your plumbing devices are threatened in any way,
Call the Griffin.
Find us at callgriffinplumbing.com or call 934-1949.
You are on the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, please give us a call at 928-1440. That's right, we're back on the Firing Line, getting into more heated discussions without getting so heated. So, I don't know, the whole open carry thing to me is what really gets me on most of this stuff. And it sucks in California, you know, since they said you can't open carry, because that was a lot better of an option than not having an option, you know, if you don't have a CCW. But like we've been talking about, I think there's a lot of people that go out and kind of do a good job and ruining it for us. You know, it's kind of like there's a bad apple in every bunch type deal. But, oh man,
Why does that one person have to ruin it for everybody? Why do we all get our rights restricted because there's one?
Because that's how it always works. It only takes that one incident. I mean, just
one
look
bad apple ruins the whole bunch.
That's why it's the
So
expression.
we're all whitewashed
Because
as
somehow
being
we've
bad
allowed
apples.
ourselves to become weakened to say that when one person does it, that means we can all do it and we will all go do it.
No, I think it's a hippie mentality. If you don't bring cookies for everybody, nobody gets cookies.
I like that. That's a great statement. Because that's the truth of it all.
Yeah.
And she's not talking about cookies, I'm telling you.
I was totally thinking chocolate chip cookies,
No,
Oreos,
hippies,
something.
Hippies were into something else. If you didn't bring enough something for everybody else.
Hash browns.
Yeah, hash browns. That's right.
So what really is then the solution?
I think like what we were saying during break here is there is no right or wrong in this, because you're going to be on either side, and it doesn't mean that you're right or wrong on either side, because one, you respect the owner of the property, the owner of the business. Two, you respect the law-abiding citizen who's carrying a firearm. And somehow you two have to meet in the middle. I mean, if you think about it, if we grow hate or hatred out of this, which is what's causing the great separation in our United States right now.
Yeah.
And what, bipartisan? Mm-hmm. This is the divide that's conquering America, and this is a grand design, and getting rid of our firearms is part of that grand design. It's part of the agenda. Get rid of their firearms. Conquer is by division, and look what we can create now. And in doing so, they've gone through with the idea of a bigger government. They've gone through with the idea of now the government is more knowledgeable and should be in charge and are able to dictate to you what is right and wrong. And here is what we're set forth with. And it trickled down trigonometry.
Trickle down trigonometry. Nice.
You know, but it's trickled down to the businesses and to a lot of other people. And John, welcome to On the Firing Line. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I got a question for you, Joe.
Yes.
Okay, your home, your business, you stated, you were the supreme sovereign, correct?
Amen, yes. I'd like to think I was.
Is this Burger King, Joe?
Isn't that what you just said, though?
I think it was pretty much exactly what I said.
Okay, are you part of the United States?
Yes.
Are you governed under the Constitution?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of the Supremacy Clause?
Yes.
Do you understand the Supremacy Clause?
Why don't you explain it to everyone here who's listening?
The Supremacy Clause?
Yes.
It's a provision under the Constitution in Article 6. And it establishes that the U.S. Constitution, federal statutes, and U.S. treaties, are the supreme law of the land.
Yes.
So that law trumps your sovereignty.
So basically, I have supremacy in my land only to a point by which the Constitution rules over it. After that, it's up to my state, and then my county, my city, and then myself.
Well, the state, the county, the city, and state judges are mandated to follow federal law when there's a conflict that arises.
Which, in your point, sounds like if I want to carry my firearm, that's my constitutional right, and nobody can usurp that anywhere.
That's how I feel. Don't you? Don't all of you?
Yeah, that's correct. That is correct.
Yeah. Honestly, yes,
Okay.
I do feel that.
To Jim, you made a statement that said, no shirt, no service. It's the same as saying, bring in a gun, no service.
Yeah, but I was saying the reason why they did that with the shirt and the shoes was because of a cleanliness issue.
Hygiene.
In hygiene, yeah.
Yes, but you compared a constitutional law to a health risk.
No, I said they were doing that. I was saying they were saying
Who's this
no
guy
shirt,
on the radio? I think
no
we ought to
shirt.
cut him off.
Don't back up on me now. Okay.
No, I'm not. I said that's what they're trying to say. No shirt, no service. They're trying to use this thing as a gun
Yeah,
thing.
use that as an example.
Use
to say
that
no
as an
guns.
example.
You can't use that as that's even further than apples and oranges. You know.
So what he's saying is the comparison, you can't use that as a comparison because the Constitution is a whole nother segment and is really so separate from this. While that makes sense for its own pertainment, the Constitution is set up to allow the law of the land to be supreme.
Exactly, and
That's
the
correct.
Second Amendment is our rights to carry. And Matt said it best, shall not be infringed. So it doesn't give, to me, it doesn't give an individual shop owner, corporation of the United States the right to trump my right to carry under the supreme law of the land. And you can argue it all you want, but the truth is, the supreme law of the land says gun rights are ours.
You know
and
what?
there's another thing, and then the argument, I'm going to get a little ahead of us.
You're still reading Google?
No, I'm not even reading Google. I'm looking at the wall here, okay? It says Marine Corps birthday.
Only you would say that, John. Only you would say that.
The other point, too, is when you read the Second Amendment, and it talks about a militia, correct?
Yes.
Is that our California National Guard?
Heck no, it's the people.
Yeah.
It's us. Because no militia is supposed to be run by the state or the federal government. Because that means it's under government control, and that's not what a militia was supposed to be. The
Go
militia
to the
was
head of the
supposed to be
class. I'm giving you a gold star there, Joe.
Excellent.
Wow, Joe just got up, walked away.
And by the way, John, you were wrong. It wasn't Matt that said that. It was me.
That's all right. We'll forgive you.
We love you, John. Hey, keep calling.
Anyhow, that's my position.
You know,
is that they do the business owner has opened his place to the public,
right.
and he not only invites the public in, he encourages them to come in. So in my home, I don't encourage you, and it's not open to the public. So it's a different setting, and respect is the thing for the home. But as far as a business owner telling me how I can come into his establishment, then as far as I'm concerned, he can close down because I'm not going to go in there.
And that would be your
Good
choice,
point.
is not to go down there. And that was something I was just thinking about when you said, you know, the Second Amendment is protected under the supremacy law. Then even at my house, I guess the truth of the matter, the way I should be looking at that is, if he has a gun and I don't want him in my house, then I don't invite him to my house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that stands.
Yeah, but I like try to.
Because here's the thing, even like our Supreme Court just ruled recently, not our Supreme Court, our Ninth Circuit, based off of what case was that? The Heller case, I think it was, where we have a right to protection inside the home and outside of the home.
Yeah, myth confirmed.
Outside of the home is everywhere, right?
It's in those private businesses.
So let's say I do go to somebody's house and they allow me in knowing I have a firearm. I still have the right to protect myself even in that domain, right?
Because you're inside their home, but you're outside your home. So you're outside the home. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Even though you're inside their home.
Right.
But since you're inside their home, isn't it their rules?
No, but I have the right to self-defense.
Okay. I thought, all right.
You can't take that away from me.
Oh, yes, I can.
You better be a damn quick draw, brother.
Just give him a few months.
Just go
Well,
to
I
Chicago.
hope I've helped to throw a wrench into your little show today, but I'm going to take off and let you guys decide on if I said something that was relevant or irrelevant to your arguments.
Well, I think
Okay.
what you gave us was kind of the ultimate, this is what the law says, and this is what reigns supreme. So there's the answer.
Yeah.
Well, the supremacy law is so stomped on. Look at California and their laws.
Yeah.
Look at Connecticut. Look at Connecticut and what they're doing right now.
Yep.
This is just overriding the Constitution, period. That illustrious president of ours, he has overrid the Constitution with his pen and his phone. So is it worth the supremacy clause? Is it worth anything anymore? I don't know. We have to decide that. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Have a nice day, guys, and I'll leave you to your woes. Bye now.
Take care,
Thanks,
buddy.
bye.
I'll tell you what. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. Although, still, to a business. Okay, so the supremacy laws work even if you go into a business. I guess it would be no different than walking into somebody's house. If you're invited and they know you have a firearm, then that's it. They have the right to protect themselves. But if you make a deal to where you invite the public with this clause, I don't want people that have firearms coming into my store. That's just like saying I'm not inviting you to my house.
Yeah.
I'm not inviting that person. And like John said, that's fine. Go ahead, close your doors. I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's the choices made by both sides.
Right. And I think ultimately this whole conversation has to do more about choices and then making a choice on each side, because you can't really do both. I mean, as much as I'm sitting here and I'm trying to make them both work in my head, like, it's just not going on.
It's almost fatalistic, like the U.S. Steel. Remember when the steel used to be everywhere, right?
Right.
But the unions kept going and going and going and going. And guess what? They said,
all
you
of a
keep
sudden
going
they
this
started
way,
making it in
these guys
China.
aren't going to get a job. And they literally said, so what? It's better than giving in to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Crazy thought.
Crazy thought of the
we
day.
don't want to give up our constitutional rights. If we do in any way, shape, or form, forget it. And another thing, think of this, political correctness. This kind of, in an outside the box, reflects on that as well. We've gotten to the point where we're not allowed to say or do things, and so things are hidden away and the truth is never known about a person. It's the same thing. You do not have to go to a business and give them business. You do not have to offer your service goods to everybody.
Yeah. Life's full of choices, man.
Yeah, if you want to be the store that's going to be robbed all the time because you're in a gun-free zone, well then, by God, go for it.
Good luck,
But
man.
you can guarantee that the people who do want their right and do believe in the supremacy law are going to carry their guns. They're going to continue to go shop. It just may not be at your store.
Right, and I do think there is a difference between can't and shouldn't. You know, I mean, people that are dead set on doing it are still able to.
Yeah.
You know, just they shouldn't, but they are able to. There's really no way to staunch that. You know, I mean, it's if somebody's really set on it, they're going to do it.
Right. What a conversation today. I think that it's been a good one.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed it.
I like it.
And all this time I was wondering where you were going to go with this.
And we're sitting right here.
Did you see how fast time went by? I mean, I wish we did have another hour. I think that we could easily fill it.
Help us get another hour on the firing line. Give us a call at 1-888-625-1440 next week, and we will talk about it. Until then, have a great week. Be safe. Have fun. Same bat time, same bat place.